Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of Kaitou Joker. Okay, so this episode is actually really funny in how it works, but this episode, The World's Luckiest Phantom Thief, is actually about the world's luckiest Phantom Thief and how his power and how he has like a supernatural power that I'll explain in a bit. But basically, the episode is really funny in that basically the good guys just went through pure luck, and that is basically the whole premise of the episode. But the episode actually opens up with Joker sending a advance notice to a group of bandit thieves, and the leader of the thieves, whose face we don't actually see till the very end, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the thief declares that Joker isn't going to be able to get in, and tells the thieves to keep their guard up, and sure enough, they keep a watchful eye over the treasure, which is revealed to be the winged statue of Osiris, which is based on the actual god Osiris, the god of the underworld, but in Egyptian mythology. But what they actually don't realize is that Joker is already inside their base and is actually hidden himself underneath the pedestal where they're actually storing the statue. And at which point they actually unveil their trick, which is to use a vacuum to simulate the effect of quicksand. Basically they apply a low pressure to the bottom of the pedestal, which causes it to turn into quicksand, and then they just suck up the statue that way, and proceed and prepare to leave. And but as they're doing so, the sand accidentally tickles Hachi's nose, and he winds up sneezing. At which point the bandits actually realize that their statue has been stolen, because obviously the sneeze comes from the direction of the pedestal where they're currently hiding. And they then proceed to stick their swords into the pedestal to try and get to Joker, who then proceeds to make his way back to the road Joker and tries to escape, which is also underground. At which point the leader declares to spread out, and that Joker couldn't have gotten far. At which point Joker proceeds to burst out of the sand with the road Joker in excavator mode, and he just proceeds to drive off into the Egyptian desert, declaring that the statue of Osiris is his now. But in any case, they then proceed to kind of continue going through the countryside, and just admiring all of the desert's best detail, all the landmarks of Egypt, and Joker can't help but remark how beautiful it is, and that once they've gotten the treasure safely to safety, they'll definitely have to stop by for a cool drink since it's very warm. But and Hachi ultimately agrees, but decides that they should probably get out of the range of the bandits before they actually do that. And sure enough, it's revealed that the bandits are still very much chasing him despite all outward appearances, and they actually do try to run Joker off the road, or off the desert, I guess. But Joker just keeps using the various gadgets in the road Joker to keep them at bay. At which point we're actually introduced to Lucky Pyramid, who is the titular world's luckiest Phantom Thief. He is the main character of this episode, and he is kind of what the episode is actually built around. And it's at this point where he declares that, which when he sees Joker and the bandits actually trying to fight over the statue, and from the pyramid where he's perched on. He's just perched on an actual pyramid casually. At which point he declares that they shouldn't fight in the desert, and tries to fly tackle the road Joker to try to get to the statue of Osiris, and he misses. With Joker and Hachi just kind of wondering who the hell he was and why he is the way he is. At which point he points out that he must have miscalculated his jump. At which point he winds up getting run over completely by the bandits. And he winds up getting very badly hurt, just a little bit. But he then declares that was exactly what he was planning, and actually unveils his ability, Pyramid Power. When we don't find out what Pyramid Power is until much later, where Joker and Hachi have since shaken the bandits, and are now celebrating the victory with a cool drink, declaring that now that they're in the safe confines of the city, the bandits are never actually going to be able to find him. But in any case, they then decide to actually change topics and talk about that weird guy they saw, the Lucky Pyramid, who kind of tried to ambush them and attack them. Joker points out that they probably shouldn't worry about him, and pointing out that they'll probably never see him again. At which point, Lucky Pyramid actually just kind of emerges from the under the table and tells them that to not speak ill of people that they don't know that are there. At which point they then proceed to kind of panic and freak out because obviously he just kind of shows up just randomly, for fun. But they obviously have no idea where he came from, and tell him not to hide in such weird places. At which point he actually winds up introducing himself properly as Lucky Pyramid, and that he's a phantom thief, and deciding that he's going to now steal the statue of Osiris, pointing out that he's had his eye on it for quite some time. That he's going to steal it, and there's not a whole lot they're going to be able to do about it, and sure enough, Joker declares that if it is indeed a fight he wants, that he'll be more than willing to fight him. And proceeds to pull out his cards, and at which point Lucky Pyramid actually winds up activating his pyramid power. And after several seconds of it not doing anything, Joker just decides to stop screwing around and just throws a card at his face, which winds up causing a chain of events that enables Lucky Pyramid to actually wind up getting the statue of Osiris without even trying to. Basically, he bumps into a wall, which just causes a bunch of things to fall over, which causes one of the waiters to actually trip, knocking the table over with the statue of Osiris on it, which then causes the statue to land perfectly in Lucky Pyramid's hands. And when Joker and Hachi questioned him, with Hachi even adding that it felt way too coincidental for it to be luck. For it to be a coincidence, Lucky Pyramid then reveals that is exactly what it was. As it turns out, Lucky Pyramid's pyramid power works on the power of luck. Basically, how it works is that if he suffers a bunch of misfortune, he will wind up gaining a tremendous lucky ability, which will then enable him to pull off heists without much effort. Basically, he just wins by doing absolutely nothing. Basically, he just wins by sheer luck, and that's how he gets his treasures. But in any case, now that he has the treasure, he then proceeds to get ready to leave, but then spies a beautiful woman walking down the street, and decides to just declare his undying love for her, but she merely becomes repulsed by it and turns him down and runs off screaming. And pointing out as she leaves that he's a hideous block man, but which kind of hurts his feelings and causes his pyramid power to flare up again. At which point Joker and Hachi declare that they're not going to let him get away with the treasure, but he merely tells them to watch where they step, and sure enough they fall into an open manhole cover and get defeated that way. At which point he leaves. Lucky Pyramid then proceeds to leave and goes to his base of operations, and they don't see him for quite a bit after that. At which point Hachi declares that they're not going to be able to win against Lucky Pyramid, pointing out that if with a power like that it would be impossible. But it's at this point where Joker, hearing what Hachi said, decides that nothing is impossible and that he will find a way to beat this lucky power, and decides to find out how to actually defeat it. And sure enough, later that day, late at night, they actually wind up finding Lucky Pyramid's base of operations. Basically, he basically sets up shop in a giant building, and when Hachi questions how they actually managed to find it, Joker merely declares that he used GPS. He just put his tracking device on the device and found out where it was that way. He just found the treasure through his little gadgetries. But in any case, they then proceed to start infiltrating the palace, and it's at this point where Hachi points out that they have large sacks on their back, and wonders what they're for, and Joker tells them not to worry about it for right now, and they proceed to infiltrate the palace, unaware that Lucky Pyramid actually winds up watching them from one of the windows, and points out that even though they seem to have found his base, that he will be more than happy to give them another demonstration of pyramid power. At which point they eventually do find Lucky Pyramid's treasure room and discover how well off he is as a phantom thief. Despite the fact that luck is basically his only superpower. He actually winds up stealing quite a number of treasures, including the statue of Osiris, and Joker points out that it's actually pretty impressive that he managed to steal that many treasures. But it's at this point where Hachi actually finds out where the statue of Osiris actually is, and goes to go steal it, but Joker actually stops him, pointing out that obviously he notices all of the traps that are set into place, and points out that it seems way too easy. And also points out that those are likely Phantom Thief traps meant to keep out any would-be Phantom Thieves. And sure enough, as Lucky Pyramid points out, they are. And he kind of just walks into the room, and that causes Joker and Hachi to actually panic until Joker notices that Lucky Pyramid's mask isn't glowing and that they probably has an advantage over him. But it's at this point where Lucky Pyramid reveals that since it's his home base, he actually has an ace in the hole for how to actually defeat Joker. And sure enough, as it turns out, his ace in the hole is to set off all the traps and wind up hurting himself to activate his lucky power so he can get the statue back from them. And sure enough, that does wind up working. But Joker winds up finding a way to actually counteract his lucky power by revealing that he actually brought all of his treasures from all of his various escapades, and just kind of throws them at Lucky Pyramid to turn his lucky power off. So yeah, as you can imagine, it's a pretty pathetic battle, as Hachi admits. And sure enough, Joker is just kind of throwing treasure at Lucky Pyramid, while Lucky Pyramid tries to set off his pyramid power by using all of the traps in his base. And Hachi, after watching that pathetic display for a bit, eventually realizes that since the traps are meant for Lucky Pyramid and not for any would-be thieves, he just decides to just go out and steal it. And he just walks up, steals the statue of Osiris, and then outright tells Joker that he stole it, which causes the three of them to kind of get into a game of keep away of Monkey in the Middle, where Joker and Hachi wind up throwing the statue over himself, while Lucky Pyramid tries to actually catch it. But it's at this point where the bandits actually wind up showing up and shoot the place with a rocket, and this causes them to actually kind of lose their footing. At which point the thieves, with the leader in tow, actually wind up storming the place, and demands to know where the statue actually is. But the rest of the group, but the rest of the bandits are kind of just interested in all the other treasure Lucky Pyramid has stolen. But they decide to, the bandit thief leader actually decides to not prioritize all the other treasure and just find the statue. So there's just a really comical scene of all these bandit thieves just kind of looting through Lucky Pyramid's place as they ignore all of the very obvious and very wealthy treasure to go look for the one treasure that they actually came there to find. And eventually they do wind up not being able to find it, so they demand to know where Joker hid it, and Joker points out that he actually doesn't know where they hid it, and points out that it's likely that it went flying when they actually wound up hitting the place with a rocket, and when they point out that they're not going to get off that easily, he then proceeds to actually scoop up all three of the Phantom Thieves, and the Phantom Thieves just kind of ties them all to a pole. At which point Lucky Pyramid points out that it seems like he isn't going to be so lucky this time, and Joker asks him if he can use his lucky power one last time, but by taking all of the bullets from their guns. But he points out that'll likely kill him for obvious reasons, and that won't likely work if that was indeed the case. But he does point out that obviously his pyramid, that obviously he feels like this might be the end of his lucky and unlucky life, and that he hopes to one day shine like all of the stars in the sky, and points out that he hopes that his life of ups and downs seems like it's going to be one big down in the end. But Joker points out that that's not how he wants to actually go out, and decides that he's actually going to win by activating pyramid power. And obviously, Lucky Pyramid and Hachi look at him with surprise and wonder if that is indeed possible. And sure enough, Joker points out that he doesn't actually have Lucky Pyramid power, but he will draw in misfortune so that Lucky Pyramid can actually activate his pyramid power. When Lucky Pyramid kind of gets a little bit nervous and asks how Joker is actually planning to do that, Joker then reveals that what he actually did was rig all of the treasure that he brought to Lucky Pyramid's house to explode. So he just presses a detonator, And that just causes all of the bombs to just go off in Lucky Pyramid's house, which, of course, very, very obviously sets off Lucky Pyramid's pyramid power and kind of overclocks it a little bit. Since all of this misfortune is happening at once, and Joker very maliciously does this on purpose to set off his pyramid power, he does eventually wind up activating pyramid power and sets it off as pyramid power ultra max, which is his ultimate version of pyramid power, basically. At which point there's just a giant shadow that just engulfs the place engulfs the plot of land where they are, and at which point Silverheart then shows up and explained exactly what happened, because obviously it does need a bit of an explanation, because literally just a giant shadow that's about to crush everybody in the immediate vicinity. That kind of needs to be explained a little bit. So yeah, as Silverheart explains, pyramid power works on the similar principle of the butterfly effect, where a butterfly can flap its wings and it'll cause serious ramifications later. But he then wonders how the butterfly effect will actually wind up saving the three Phantom Thieves, and then proceeds to actually show off the sequence of events that caused the giant shadow to appear. As we find out, and this is a very comical sequence of events that I hope I get correct, but as we find out, Lucky Pyramid's house blowing up actually caused a mule or I believe a camel to actually freak out and go rampaging through the streets of Egypt where they are. And this causes a woman who sees this to actually panic and drop her phone, which causes the person on the other end, her husband, I think, to actually wind up becoming surprised and do a spit take. Which then causes the window cleaner in his outside of his office to actually fall and drop his handkerchief. And that lands on Queen's face, who is currently doing her own Phantom Thief shenanigans in the background of this episode, and she winds up tripping, dropping her sword, cutting one of the power lines for the city that she's in, which causes the stoplights to actually not work, which then caused Mr. Canieri's driver to suddenly step on the brakes suddenly, which causes Mr. Canieri to coincidentally set off the bomb that his little bear friend always sets off, which causes his house to explode, which causes all of his valuable planes to go flying everywhere, which causes one of the paintings to actually land on Ginkgo, Momo, and Oniyama's car, which they are currently chasing after Spade and Dark Eye, but this causes them to actually set off one of their gadgets in the car by accident, and this causes Dark Eye and Silver and Spade to actually wind up going off the road. And in the process, they wind up creating a large ice formation, actually create a makeshift road for themselves that just kind of weaves around all the buildings that in the city where they're in. Which in turn causes one of the guys to remark that's pretty cool. It sends it to his buddy in NASA, who is so distracted by his phone that he throws a banana peel, which causes the pizza delivery guy to actually wind up slipping on it, causing it to land on one of the technicians' faces at NASA, who then accidentally presses a button that causes a giant satellite to just kind of fall out of orbit and land on the Phantom Thieves. So, long story, so in case that was hard to follow, all you need to know is that Lucky Pyramid's pyramid power activated in such a way where it causes a chain of events that causes the satellite to fall out of orbit and land on top of them. And sure enough, the bandits actually just wind up running off and trying to escape. But sure enough, it winds up landing on top of them regardless. But Joker actually winds up using his bubbles to actually kind of shield the three Phantom Thieves. And after seeing all the carnage that went around, they declare that they're the luckiest Phantom Thieves alive. At which point they then proceed to realize that it took a great deal of skill to actually pull all of that off and actually pull off that kind of Rube Goldberg bullshit. But in any case, Joker points out that they did get a little lucky, and it was thanks to pyramid power that they were able to pull it off and defeat all the bandits. Whereas Whereas Lucky Pyramid points out that there was indeed a bit of skill involved, and from that point forward declares that he's no longer going to rely solely on pyramid power and is going to try and use some of his own skill to actually kind of pull some off. And then proceeds to actually thank Joker by solemnly bowing his head and shaking his hand, which he coincidentally causes Lucky Pyramid's mask to fall off. And what we find out is that, ironically enough, despite not having any luck with the ladies, he is actually quite handsome underneath his mask, and for whatever reason, he actually winds up covering it up for himself. And also, ironically enough, what we find out is that the leader of the band of thieves is actually a girl, and she's been wearing a full head hijab and sunglasses this entire time. So obviously, it's been impossible to tell what she actually looks like underneath the mask, But sure enough, after realizing that the person who tried to kill him is indeed a woman, he then immediately falls in love with her, and decides to go to tell her how she feels. But he then proceeds to he pulls on his mask before he actually does it, and she winds up being disgusted by him, pointing out that he seems to be some sort of Cairo of Egypt person and some sort of mascot of Egypt, and with that, then proceed to regroup her forces and leaves to go back to their hideout, pointing out that since the treasure isn't there and the Phantom Thieves didn't really have anything on them, and realizing it's probably not a very good idea to mess with Lucky Pyramid anymore, they then decide to go back to their base and call it a day. At which point, Lucky Pyramid is actually very heartbroken over the fact that the woman kind of that the bandit thief leader kind of turned him down, and Hachi and Joker just kind of console him and point out that he might have better luck with the ladies if he didn't wear his mask all the damn time. So yeah, with that, they then proceed to part on amicable terms, but with Hachi just pointing out that it's just a little depressing, a little sad that they weren't actually able to get the winged statue of Osiris at any point, but. This point where Joker actually points out that he did wind up stealing it in any place. As it turns out, he just kind of stuck it down his pants and proceeded to throw the tracking device that he used to actually make them think that it was somewhere else in the room, so they didn't actually know where to find it. They just knew it was in the general direction. They just didn't know. But yeah, the thieves also used their own version of the same trick, but Joker just kind of made it in a way where they couldn't actually find it. So he wound up stealing it for himself. But it's at this point where a stampede of camels actually winds up blocking his path, which causes him to stop suddenly. And sure enough, what we find out is that Lucky Pyramid is still using his old tricks to actually steal the winged statue of Osiris from them. And Joker points out that that's actually fighting dirty, pointing out that he wasn't going to do it anymore. But as I just pointed out, and as Lucky Pyramid reiterates, he's not going to rely solely on pyramid power, but he is going to use it when the situation arises for it. So if he does wind up building up his misfortune enough, he is going to absolutely use it. But in case with that, Joker then proceeds to actually get into a fight of skill to actually get it back, and sure enough, winds up knocking his mask off with several of his cards, which then lands on Hachi's head, and so distracted by the fact that he's not able to get his mask back, Joker's able to successfully steal the statue from him, and sure enough, they then run off, pointing out that Hachi is obvious that if he wants his mask and the statue back, he's going to have to come after him, but with Joker with Lucky Pyramid pointing out that he needs it to actually win the affection of the bandit leader. So he winds up chasing after them to try and get it back, and that's how the episode ends. So yeah, this episode as I said, this episode ultimately boils down to the heroes getting very lucky, and that is the central mechanic of this. Basically, Lucky Pyramid's only superpower is to just generate massive luck for himself so that he can actually win a fight, and it's kind of funny, and it's kind of funny how it works. Just a bunch of sheer coincidences and Rube Goldberg nonsense that ultimately result in Lucky Pyramid stealing treasure. It's very funny, and I do kind of like how that works. And I am interested to see Lucky Pyramid come back, because that feels like it would be a really funny set of things to do, where he shows up as a rival Phantom Thief and just wins through pure luck. And the main cast of heroes have no way of actually facing off against him, because obviously you can't really beat luck. You can't really. Luck is like one of the hardest things to actually counteract, because if you just get lucky, that is all you got. You can't win. You can't win against luck, because luck is basically one of whatever's in the cards for you. You can't really fight back against it. But yeah, I do. But in any case, this episode was very interesting and very funny, and I did kind of like it as an episode. But in any case, yeah, that's my review of Kaitou Joker. What you guys think? Let's get a discussion over in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It does really help me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks, and I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out. Link is down in the description. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. If you do want to help support me even further, then be sure to actually go check out my Twitch down in the description. I'm streaming Pokemon Legends Arceus currently. If you want to check that out, link is all down in the description, or you can just find the link on the end screen and type it in. Yeah, go check that out. Also be sure to check out my regular videos as well. Top videos from our season 1, whereas the bottom video is based on what you've already seen. So if you want to try something new, or see more of what you like, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. As next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!